Let's get back to the breaking news in Ankara now. A Turkish news agency says a car bomb caused a deadly explosion on a city street, and military vehicles were the apparent target. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is offering his condolences in a newly released statement. I'm joined now from Washington by Soner Cagaptay. He's the director of the Turkish Research Program at the Washington Institute. Thank you very much for being with us.
My pleasure.
Now, Turkey's Deputy Prime Minister has called this an act of terrorism. If this was a bomb attack, who do you think is the most likely suspect?
No one has claimed responsibility, so it's difficult to say for sure, but I think this is a Turkish-Kurdish group that's on the U.S. State Department's list of foreign terrorist organizations known as the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK by its initials. The modus operandi of the operation, going after military targets, especially off-duty officers who are going home after work, reminiscent of past PKK attacks, suggests that this is probably the PKK that's behind the attack.
Soner, the last recent attacks we saw in Turkey were essentially soft targets. One was a peace march in Ankara back in October, and then there was an attack near a mosque in Istanbul last month. This was a military convoy that was targeted near Turkey's military headquarters and near its parliament. What does that say to you about Turkey's security?
Well, it shows that this is a different group. Previous attacks, as you said, which targeted soft targets, were carried out by ISIS. I think this is more likely the PKK. ISIS has been circumspect to not target hard and military targets inside Turkey in order not to incur the full wrath of the Turkish government. The PKK, on the other hand, is interested in escalating conflict with the Turkish government. And there's a linkage here to Syria. There is a Kurdish group in Syria known as the PYD, which is linked to the PKK in Turkey. And if the PKK is indeed behind this attack, I would suggest that the linkage is that Turkey has been shelling PYD targets inside Syria. So the PKK is now escalating by opening up a quote-unquote second front against Turkey in order to hurt Turkey further. So it shows to us that the Syrian civil war is not staying in Syria. It is coming inside Turkey to haunt Turkey through ways that we did not foresee before.
And if it's not the PKK, if it is instead ISIS, what does that say about the level of attacks that we're seeing, this pattern that is emerging?
There's an unfortunate fact that the last four of the five worst terror attacks in Turkey's history have taken place in the last 2 years, and they're all linked to the fallout of the Syrian war, whether it's ISIS or Assad regime or the Syrian Kurdish group linked to the Turkish Kurdish group PKK, PYD. This shows that Turkey has a pretty significant and rising, unfortunately, terror problem, and that this is mostly now emanating from Syria. Whatever the actors are, from the Assad regime to the PKK to ISIS, they're different. In fact, they're fighting in Syria each other, but they all seem to be targeting Turkey.
And Turkey is, of course, targeting them near the border, carrying out more attacks than ever before in retaliation. Who can Turkey turn to for help domestically?
Right now, I think Turkey is isolated alone. It has very few friends and allies in the region. And ironically, the Syrian Kurdish group PYD, which is linked to the PKK, if the PKK is indeed behind this attack, the PYD has close ties to Russia. It receives weapons from Russia. There are even suggestions that Russia would recognize Syrian Kurdish independence if those regions declared independence, which means that Syrian Kurds and perhaps the Turkish Kurds are moving in the direction of becoming a client for Russia. So Turkey is threatened not by only the rise of Kurdish nationalism in Syria and inside the country, but also by the fact that Russia, Turkey's historic nemesis, is becoming the patron of these groups. This is a rather dangerous precipice for Turkey. For thus far, the Kurdish problem in Turkey had been a domestic issue. Now it seems that it's becoming an international issue with Russia as a player. So Turkey has few friends and only a NATO and the United States to turn to at this very difficult time.
They're certainly not in a great position. Soner Cagaptay, we appreciate your perspective on all of this. Thanks very much.
It's my pleasure.